I constantly find myself thinking that the days are short or that somehow the world has rigged itself against me by making time feel smaller than it actually is. And that's not really the case. The case is more technology, how technology is able to loop us in, and how those 10 minutes that we spend not really doing anything just to allow ourselves to recharge tend to add up over time. Maybe you spend 30 minutes browsing social media, and wow, social media was just way too much stimulation for you, so you spend a 10-minute break doing absolutely nothing. And then eventually, after 30-minute intervals of Twitter and 10-minute intervals of breaks from Twitter, all the time adds up. And I've been slowly realizing this because I've always known that the biggest problem with me not achieving a number of my goals is a lack of time management. You do have a lot of time, you just have to prioritize it towards the right things and not allow yourself to be led astray by more shallow, you know, petty, fucking random bullshit that, catches your fancy in the moment, but you end up not remembering the same way you would a good 5 hours of work on something important. And so I often think, well, the key to my success, if anything, is to do the thing. It's to practice at this thing that I want to do. I was recently trying to configure myself a schedule for this project that I've been working on for the last week or so, week and a half, whichever. And I realized that there's actually a lot that I can get done in a day. Even if I slept 12 hours in a day, well, there's still 10 more. There's 10, 12 more hours that I would spend awake. So, in that instance, that's 12 hours that I could be potentially putting towards whatever craft, whatever project, whatever goal I'm trying to get to. And if that's the case, then why am I not doing it? Well, the simple answer to that is that's way too much stimulation in one day, especially towards one thing. So, in order to mitigate that, you have breaks in between. Let's say maybe you spend 2 hours in breaks. That's 10 hours of work for that day. Sounds pretty good to me. Certainly possible. And yet, I spend all of this time doing almost nothing with this huge ideal tossed around in my head of, 10-hour day of work on this thing. Doesn't happen because the schedule isn't properly written out and it's not properly applied. Of course, I'm not going to get that done if I don't get up each day and say, I'm going to do this thing exactly this way in this planned out methodical fashion. Now, there are multiple reasons for me not doing that, a lack of resources, but I've never tried to let a lack of resources get me down. So, of course, I've been practicing like hell on this project, but not to the degree that I want to. So, there's always, a level of scrutiny that I have for myself when I don't exactly achieve the goal that I set out to do. I look at, well, I spent 6 hours today, but I didn't spend 8 hours. Stuff like that. Me ragging on some of the specifics, trying to be a perfectionist, but then there's the other side of me that wants to be optimistic about it. That wants to look at the positive side of things. That, well, that's more work than I got done the day before, which is true, and that's good. So it's like a battle. It's a battle between those two different parts of me. The one that wants to be the perfectionist and get everything done, and then the one that wants to look on the positive side of things. But the truth of the matter is that there's still a gaping void eating up a lot of my time. I haven't even worked on the thing that I'm talking about. I know I will before I go to sleep, if anything. Before I go to sleep, I'm going to, in a rush of obligation and emotion, try and pump out as much of this project as I possibly can, but still, I spent the entire day procrastinating on it, doing virtually nothing. I watched some anime today, and I mean, that was fun, but like, I didn't really do that much because the thing about me is that everything takes energy. Everything for me takes energy, and I don't usually have that much energy. That the more energy I put towards something, the more it feels like everything is just too much. Everything is taking away too much. Everything's too much effort. I don't want to deal with it. And so I find myself just laying in bed, doing nothing. People, they hear that and they think, wow, that's insane. It's an insane idea. But I'm perfectly content doing it. It doesn't bother me to spend all of my days, sleeping away. I don't think it would make any difference to me in the end. But I want to achieve these grandiose things because I think that would give me more value in my life. Now, part of me is kind of afraid of that sometimes. Like, when I watch a movie, for example, and I start to feel very excited and I feel really good about what I'm doing, something kind of feels wrong a lot of the time. Like, when I'm having, like, huge amounts of fun, like, not just a little bit of fun, like, huge amounts of fun, like, it's almost like something feels wrong. Like, I shouldn't be doing that. The same thing happens when I feel really sad or when I feel really angry. It feels like something is wrong. And I mean, most people would feel that way about the negative emotions, but not necessarily the positive ones. That's the thing, is that, like, I constantly want my emotions to be like a flat line, to the point that I have so little energy that I'd rather spend it lying in bed all day than doing something that would require putting forth that energy. Because in my mind, it's like, oh, every little bit of energy needs to be conserved because I have so little of it. I think that's a created barrier. That's a barrier that I've made in my head. I've said, okay, no energy today, whatever. And to an extent, that is a physical problem, but at the same time, it's a created problem because I'm letting my emotions control the outcome of my environment. I'm saying, my emotions today are this, and so I'm not going to do anything because of that. But you can change your state of mind. You can change what your emotions are. You can certainly change how you act, even if the emotions themselves don't change. You can choose to do the work in spite of how you're feeling. And so it's a bogus excuse. It's not even good. And, like, that's one of the things that's pushed me through these long, long hours working on this project, because I realized that my brain physically hurting as a result of the input of this information is a good thing, because that shows that I'm learning. That huge lack of energy that I feel towards what I'm doing, it's a sign that I'm learning something. Physical uncomfort, it's a sign that I'm learning something. And so I keep doing it in spite of those feelings. And to me, that's really wild because, in school, when I would feel even the slightest bit of physical or mental illness in my brain, any kind of cumbersome work that would come with doing school, I would end up just dropping it entirely, cheating, just not doing it, whatever I could, anything I could do to get out of the work, I would do. And, that led me further down a mindset of just putting off work, just, I'm not going to do it, it's too much energy is being taken away, it feels bad when I do it. It's a very unhealthy thing, it's a very dangerous path. But the thing was that I didn't care. Either way, I was like, well, the future's gonna be fine. I had one or two existential crises about where the future was gonna go. I mean, Struggles of an Outlaw 1 was basically that, but, like, in general, I was like, yeah, everything will work itself out eventually. Who cares, And so I kept putting things off, and not a lot of real progress was made. I mean, even on this YouTube channel, you see me put out all these videos, but I certainly don't do more than one take. I've never aspired to do more than one take because it's too much. Too much energy. Too many things to do. If I have to record the take 5 times, my energy feels like it's gone down so much that eventually I just get to the point where, like, I don't want to do it anymore. It's like, well, I'd rather be laying down listening to music than this, something totally passive that doesn't take much out of me. Um, because when it gets to that point where I have to do it so many times, it's like it hurts. It's like it's taking something out of me physically. And when I get to that point, it's like, whoa, too much, too much. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about, like, even when I feel super happy, it's like, that's too much. Can't do that. can't do that, because it's too much emotion. Um, I don't really know what caused that. Like, it's something that I've just experienced for so long. I have a few theories as to why I ended up that way, but regardless, it's here, and I'm living with it. And I don't know if any of you have experienced something similar to this, but, like, it can feel very debilitating at times, and it's one of those things where you can't let it control you. You have to get the work done in spite of that. And I think it helps to have, other people cheering you on, have other people wanting you to do it, but even then, you can't always rely on that. You have to find a way. You have to find a way to adapt yourself into somebody who will want to do that work all on their own. And that's what I'm trying to teach myself. I'm trying to teach myself to be the person who's going to achieve something out of their own volition, out of what they want to do, out of their will, their mission, their aspirations, whatever. And that requires me to care about those goals. And that's been very hard for me for a long time, because in my eyes, it's like, well, I'm gonna die anyway. The future will sort itself out. Even if I don't get these things done, my emotional state won't be too bad. I'm not gonna get shot or anything if I don't get this goal done, so who cares? And it's not really a good way to get anything done, because these goals do help. They do bring satisfaction and greater fortunes within life. And so, of course, you would want to do them. Of course. And it's not like they even take up that much time either, because I say that there's lots and lots of hours in the day if you just apply them correctly. If instead of sitting around all day letting your time melt away on these social media platforms or just simply staring at a wall, then there is a lot of time. And it's better to use that time towards something productive than it is to not use it all. Because in that case, you're building a skill that can be used towards bigger and better things, forging new connections, job opportunities, love, whatever you want to say. There's things that can benefit you from having those skills. So why not study them? Why not try? You have all the time in the world to try. The only roadblock preventing you from doing that is you. You have to come up with alternative strategies. You have to come up with ways to get around your brain to make yourself do it. And that really is the thing. It's making yourself do it. That's what it is. It's getting up each day and saying, I'm going to do this, and then actually doing it. That's the main thing. And doing that every day. And that's what I'm trying to teach myself to do. Because without that, you're not getting anything done. People have these, like, weird dopamine stunts of, like, saying, I'm not gonna tell anybody what I'm trying to do, and that'll automatically make my thing happen. That's something that I believed for a long time. I believed if I don't tell anybody what I'm trying to do, then that'll magically make it happen. That maybe I shouldn't tell an audience of 800 people what I'm going to do just to keep it as a surprise, but I'm not keeping that out of people's ears so it'll happen. That's a theory a lot of people have. They say, don't tell people your goals or else you won't do them, because the emotional reward of having done them will be done by way of saying them. And the problem with that is that it's assuming that the emotional reward is why you're doing the goal, because if that's the case, then you're not going to get anything out of it. If it's a long-term goal, most of the process is just going to be you beating your head against the wall saying, why is there no progress happening? Because progress happens slow. It doesn't happen immediately. You're not going to get those random dopamine hits, every day or 2 days, week, even months. Sometimes it'll take months to see any progress. So what you really need is fortitude, and fortitude cannot be forged by simply not saying what your goal is in order to keep yourself from feeling any dopamine from saying that, because it's not a matter of dopamine. It's a matter of consistency. It's a matter of discipline. This is about discipline. This isn't about, oh, I shouldn't tell my goals to people because it'll make me more emotionally unfit for the job. It's not about emotions. It's about getting the job done. If you try to do these weird emotional metagames of, I'm going to make myself feel this, I'm going to make myself feel that, then you're just going to lose, because it's not about emotions, it's about reality. It's about achieving things in material reality. That's what you have to have control over, no matter what your emotions say. Yeah, maybe you can shift how you're feeling in the moment, but that can only go so far, and that can only be so possible. Instead, it's about taking yourself and making yourself do that thing. That's what I need to do. And no matter how many hours I spend just sitting on the computer doing nothing as my time seemingly goes away fast, that's never going to change. That's just reality. I just need to do it. I just need to take the reins of my time. I just need to apply myself. Because if I don't do that, then nothing gets done. Hopefully this made sense. I kind of went all over the place here, but I'm trying to not let my days be wished away and spent, like that, just one after the other, just done. I want them to mean something. I want them to have progress that was made throughout each of them, all culminating towards a bigger thing over the years. That's what I want.